I love Stars and Stripes. The reason why I do is I think it's the most important newspaper media organization in the world. I believe that. I believe that because of the people who we serve, our military audience. That always gets me, because I believe that from the bottom of my heart. These people put their lives on the line continuously. And that's why Stars and Stripes was established, was to tell the people, was to tell their stories. So for me to be a part of that, for the 20 years that I've been with Stripes, it's a big deal to me.
My familiarity with Stars and Stripes is from Full Metal Jacket. At the end, when the guy makes it through basic training, he goes to work for Stars and Stripes.
You people want one?
No, sir, we're reporters from Stars and Stripes.
Stars and Stripes?
Yes, sir.
We were also recently in Brad Pitt's last movie. There's a scene where he's holding up a Stars and Stripes. That's where I'd heard of it.
From Seoul, Korea, to the office of the Secretary of the United States Army in Washington, D.C., may be just a day's journey by air. But for these Korean war orphans, it is literally a chance in a century. It might also be the high point of the American soldiers' journalistic journey since 1860, through the Civil War, the two World Wars, and the Korean War. This is the story of that journey, or the story of the Stars and Stripes.
The history of Stars and Stripes goes back many, many years to the Civil War days.
November 9th, 1861. A 3-column, 4-page paper appeared in Bloomfield, Missouri, published by 4 Union soldiers, all enlisted men with that gentlemanly rank known as private.
World War I, Stars and Stripes, how it was enacted. During that wartime, as you know, there's very little communication between the troops, the families, the states, even the war itself. Folks were very uninformed at the time, and that's just due to necessity. A lot of the guys, the soldiers themselves, got together and started putting together stories and things they had done and sharing it. For the most part, were making their own paper. The general, who at the time was General John Blackjack Pershing, saw the improved morale. He saw what came of it. He saw light of hardships. He saw esprit de corps improve. So with that, he decided he would incite a newspaper.
The paper, written by the men in the service, would speak the thoughts of the new American Army and the American people from whom the Army has been drawn. It is your paper. Good luck to it. Signed, John J. Pershing, Commander-in-Chief, American Expeditionary Forces.
More recently, since 1945, we've been printing for the Pacific here, and we've printed every day since then.
For Hirohito, this is around 1946. The particular photograph itself shows him reading to his son from a Stars and Stripes newspaper. Emperor, after 2,600 years of having this divine descendants, this was the first emperor that wanted to turn that into a humanizing. He wanted to humanize the role. It was a changing of the guard and a change of the times here in Japan. So this is a meaningful picture, not only to Stripes, but to Japan.
To me, it's good mixed with normal newspaper and local newspaper. And also workforce is very, I think, interesting for me because we have military people working together and also MLC people working together. MLC means Japanese national people working together. Also American civilian working together. So it's very different people working together and making their one products.
We have an extremely diverse workforce, 144 Japanese nationals, 19 Korean nationals, 32 U.S. civilians, and military from all 4 branches. So the fact that we can all come together and produce these products and services is about the most amazing joint feat that I've seen in my career.
Our leaders are just stationed in Japan or different culture, different country from their hometown. And so we are thinking about their life. Only making them just enjoy, we provide the very worthy information for them, and we are thinking about that always.
So the Japanese workforce is a big part of what Stripes is all about. They are resident experts in what they do. Most of them have been doing it 20 plus years. Most of the time, they fix everything themselves. You don't have to speak to them. They can run around and they can not only do their job, but they can go above and beyond and fix the machine. There's no outsourcing, there's no contracts. We have a workforce here that is extremely diverse, extremely reliable, and are a big part of who we are.
This is Joji Yumoto. This is my lead pre-press operator. He's been working here for 25 years. And Joji has been here through many transformations, from film, camera. He's been here from when we had a monster camera where they would lay things out on paper and then take a picture of that and transfer that to film, through the transformation to computer to film, and then the next transformation to CPP that you have here today.
最初はですね、フィルムから扱う仕事からこういうコンピューター中心の仕事になっていって、最初はその使い方だとかを学ぶのが結構最初からなんで大変でした。
The world has changed, the technology has changed from a generation ago in that people can get their news. They don't have to wait for Stars and Stripes to be delivered to their front porch in order to find out what's going on back in the United States.
Stars and Stripes has multiple websites as well as mobile applications. Our largest site is stripes.com, which is our kind of hard news editorial site. We have several community-based lifestyle publications. We have a site for Okinawa, a site for Guam, a site for South Korea, and a site for Japan. We focus more on news dealing with communities in those areas. So we have an iPad application, iPhone application, Android phone application, and a Kindle app.
At some point, we reached up to 4.1 million sessions in a month online. For our social media, we hit about 10 social media venues, but Facebook in particular, we jumped up to 500,000 likes within a matter of months.
What I like about Stars and Stripes is that we're serving an audience as opposed to just informing one, trying to find stories that are relevant specifically to them, to see what's going on in sports, to see what's going on in politics, to follow the presidential election right now, and to a certain degree entertained. You know, our weekend edition that moves out on Friday here in the Mideast on Saturday has everything from movie reviews, book reviews, music, video games. We have Sunday comics, while still keeping a very strong influence of breaking news, but particularly as it pertains to them.
We have a newspaper for the people stationed in Guam, Korea as well, Okinawa, which has the biggest base in Japan, and also Japan, and Japan covers the other places in Japan.
So a lot of the big challenges when military gets stationed overseas, regardless of your age or your seasoning, is just the simple fact that you're going to land in a new country, in a new place, you're going to have your entire family, and you're going to have to actually live there. Our goal with a lot of our community products is to make that easier. We want to help the military member and family not only get settled in to their new environment and location, but we want to help them get culturally ingrained into Japan. Just the full gamut from everyday living through working in a joint environment to simply introducing your kids to a new country.
One of the things that I'm very impressed with is what we're doing right now, which is the Month of the Military Child. It started off with soliciting letters from military brats who actually like being called military brats.
It come in that says what it's like to be a military child. Some are tearjerkers, to say the least. We promise to publish every one of them. It goes in the community products, it goes on the radio, it goes in commercials through AFN. We do all we can to bolster families.
First Amendment military paper. That is, I think, unheard of in the news industry.
We have a mandate through the SecDef and Congress that we are editorially independent. We're the only First Amendment protected news and information resource under DoD.
There's been problems in the past where maybe there's been command interference.
Of course, everything would still have to get approved by my bureau chief. But the main thing for me is while I was working with the military, I was never allowed to take photos of servicemen who may be slightly out of uniform. Their uniforms might be a little bit dirty. They have tattoos hanging out from under their sleeves. Anything that might give the military a less than desirable effect.
There's no command influence, and that applies to the commanding generals of the AOR all the way down to myself.
Where a commander said, no, you can't run that. Well, yes, we can. The First Amendment says we can.
But here, I'm allowed to take photos of the guys where they're actually working, where they're dirty, their tattoos are hanging out. They might not be as clean shaven as you might like. Their shoes might not be quite as shiny as the supervisors might prefer them to be. But yeah, it gives us a more real look at what the military is.
We've got loyal readers at Stars and Stripes. It's not just people that are still overseas. Obviously, there's a lot of veterans that you know read Stars and Stripes when they're deployed, and now they're back in the States, and they'll click on our website, and there's obviously a nostalgic aspect for some of those guys. In a deployed environment, I think it's pretty popular. If you're at some isolated base, perhaps there's only limited internet capabilities. The Stars and Stripes is a pretty valuable morale booster for guys that are back in their tents. I know when I'm deployed, I read the Stars and Stripes cover to cover, even if it's 7 days out of date. It's great when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you've got that reading material.
That's where you really see the connections with the other service members, is being able to get the newspaper out there into the most dangerous parts of the world. That's where they need it most.
Even though the paper only costs 50 cents, it means a lot more to people. In the military, it's been ramped up. I've been exposed to quite a number of people who read Stars and Stripes while they were deployed in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And by far, when they find out I tell them I work for Stars and Stripes, they come to me and they tell me how valuable the experience was, that when they had their downtime, that there was a Stars and Stripes available, and there was a way for them to catch up with what's going on in the world and have that sense of Americana.
It means a lot. It means a great deal because I myself was in the Air Force for about 9 years. So in a way, this is my way to give back.
My circumstance accept me very well, and so I can be always what I am. So that's makes me feel very happy.
What has happened now with the digital community is that allows us to be an almost cradle-to-grave news media. And you see that every day on our site. You see the comments that we get on stories from, there'll be a story about the Philippines, and suddenly you've got 20 postings from guys who served in the Philippines. You do the same on a story about Iraq. You talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, and you get tales from these guys, what they went through, how they're still coping with it. We get even messages still from guys who served in the Korean War, who served in Vietnam. So there's still something about us that draws those people, and going digital has given them the opportunity to maintain those contacts, not just with us, but with other soldiers too.
I used to think I didn't know who this paper goes to, but once I thought about this paper may, president may read this paper. I think that's kind of feeling you can't get from the website, because website is website. Everybody probably see the same way, but for the newspaper, we actually printing it and making it. So when I'm in the process of printing stuff, I sometimes thinking about this paper, who's going to read this newspaper?
So standing in the floor of Congress, I think bringing up the First Amendment and keeping that fresh in their mind and how it applies to the military community, that would be at the forefront of my concern. Ensuring that we have such a thing in the military, ensuring that we enjoy and can exercise the rights of the First Amendment while being in the military is extremely important. and it's also rare. So Stripes is one vehicle that they can use to keep that amendment in place and in practice. And if you want our military members to enjoy their rights as citizens, this is how to do it.
To readers at isolated outposts, on the high seas, at island airstrips, or in the hills of Korea, this is their hometown paper away from home. From war to war, the one thing which is universal, familiar, unchangeable, is the American soldier, who is not out to conquer the world, but always longing for home. Wherever a single GI is still away from his soil, his paper is there with him, bridging the gap between the temporary state of war, cold or hot, and the cherished tradition of peace.